Hello.
Hey, what's up? You got two of them going now. I'm going to drop one of these, okay?
You're the man.
All right. Are you still there?
I hope so. Am I still there?
Yep. You can hear me? You're not hearing that double?
Nope. Everything sounds good.
All right. Hey, how's it going, everybody? We're live.
And alive.
What?
We're live and alive.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh.
How's it going, live stream chat? Weigh in. Give us a song of the day request. Sorry, no Michael Girardi song, but I'll do you a favor. Today on the program, after hour one, a brand new Michael Girardi song. He sent this one over the weekend, Ben.
That is always good news. I was going to give him a shout out at the top of my bit here. So Girardi's going to get a lot of airtime on the show at the outset.
Is it for that voicemail he sent us on Friday?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm going to give it away right now. Hey, you have a good weekend? Yeah, pretty good weekend. That was a good pair. You got to give Girardi credit, man.
Michael Girardi's awesome. All right, everybody, your Ben Joravsky show for Tuesday, August 11th is moments away. But before we do this, let's thank the following unions for sponsoring this program. Unions like the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, and of course, today's Ben Joravsky show, and every Ben Joravsky show for that matter, is brought to you by our dear friends at the Chicago Federation of Labor. All right, no one has weighed in on the live stream chat, so Ben,
that's okay.
You get to pick the song of the day.
Yeah, well, that's the theme of the day. Okay, so you're gonna hear a lot of this song. All right.
Oh, you lucky listeners! A lot of Ben singing today. Woo!
Well, no, just gonna start with the guitar. We'll get to the song later. Let's see if they get it from the guitar. Come on, D.
There must be some other way out of here. Is that what it is?
Oh my God! Am I good or am I good? Either that or we've been working together a long time. That is unbelievable. I mean, come on. Is that chemistry or what, ladies and gentlemen? This boy is on the other side of town, over on Lawrence Avenue, and I'm over at Irving. And we're still communicating like we're in that little room back at my beloved Bright One. That is unbelievable that you knew that.
That's what that was? Jimi Hendrix?
That was the Jimi Hendrix version. There's also a Bob Dylan version that I do.
Oh, let's hear that one. Let's hear that one.
Well, I'm just giving the whole opening away, but there must be some kind of way out of here, said the Joker to the thief. Yeah. That's Bobby D, baby.
You won't hear that on NPR, huh?
No. Very interesting dynamic there. Dylan and Hendrix. Very ironic. Oh, God.
The Ben Joravsky show starts now. It is Tuesday, August 11th, and still live from my apartment and still live from Ben's attic, this is the Ben Joravsky show. Today on the program, it's the long-awaited return of our Chicago reader colleague, Maya Dukmasova. And now your host, the long-awaited return, Chicago reader columnist Ben Joravsky.
Hello, everybody. Ben Joravsky here. We're calling this all along a Watchtower Tuesday, and here's why. Good weekend, D. You know what? Forget it. Don't even tell me, because I can't even pretend. Michael Girardi, I can't even do this for you. I can't do the good weekend D bit for you because it was a lousy weekend, all right? I know you had a good weekend.
I was going to say, I had a good weekend. I was ready to say yes.
Share the good news before I get to the apocalyptic news. Go ahead.
I mean, I saw a good movie, and I had some great food. It was a great weekend.
What movie did you see? You told me, I forgot.
Spike Lee's School Days.
Oh, yeah. Excellent flick. Dennis saw a movie that came out when he was 2 years old. 2 years old!
I was 5.
It came out in 89?
88. I was born in 83.
I should know that.
Come on, Joravsky.
Anyway, I know you had a great weekend because he was happy and buoyant and bouncing up and down. I called him up yesterday in the middle of all the chaos. He didn't answer. Why? He was sleeping. That's how a great weekend.
During the storm, I was like,
you know what? I did Hendrix. I could have easily done the Doors. Riders on the Storm.
I think you've done that one before, so you know.
Oh, look at you knowing stuff like. How would you know that? I bet I do every show with you, and I remember every song of the day. One time I did like a Simon and Garfunkel song again, and you called me on it. You go, Ben, you did that before.
Ben.
All right, let me get down to business here. I'm calling this All Along the Watchtower Tuesday because it was a very apocryphal weekend, and that, of course, making allusion to the great Bob Dylan song that was covered by Jimi Hendrix. As Dennis just said, I prefer the Jimi Hendrix version, although the Dylan version is good too. It ends with two riders approaching a fortress. People are waiting for like the end of civilization as they know it. That's what this weekend kind of had the feeling. There was murder, there was looting, there was gun violence, and then followed up by that freaking windstorm, a monumental fury that had me running to the basement almost. D, I got to tell you, this is a confession. Sometimes I like talking to this microphone. It's like I say things like, I can't believe I confess this, but so it was scary. I had just finished a brilliant column. Thank you, Dennis, for saying that. Another brilliant column for the Reader. I just sent it in. I was done. All of a sudden, it got really dark outside, and the wind was howling, like in the Bob Dylan song. The wind was howling, and the trees were blowing back and forth. And I'm looking out the window. It was dark. And I'm like, you know what? This is serious. And then there was a siren, just a, one of those.
Oh, I'm glad you let us all know what a we were like, man, what is a siren? What is that?
That's called a sound effect, D. I'm going to teach you a little something about podcasting, okay? You got to have sound effects. Every now and then you got to drop a sound effect.
Let me take notes.
That's
sound effect.
Podcasting, all right? So you hear it's dark as all hell.
We love all of you for listening to this show.
There's another Bob Dylan song, Darkness at the Break of Dawn. It's all right. Anyway, and the trees are blowing back and forth, and I'm like, you know what? This is no joke. So first I called Dennis. He's like my security blanket. No answer. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Turns out later he was sleeping, I found out. Sleeping through the storm. Anyway, so Dennis is not around. My wife's not around. I got no one to turn to. I'm going to the basement. D, I'm not ashamed to admit this. I was all set to go to the basement, and I had one of those weird impulses that only I have. The basement door is open. I'm going into the basement. It's dark outside. The wind's blowing. The trees are rocking back and forth. I suddenly have this thought. That tree could crash and take down the wire, cut off all electricity. The microwave won't work. And I'm hungry.
All your concerns. We couldn't do a show tomorrow. The microwave. I need a burrito.
So you take the rice cake, you put a little cheese on it, you put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds, D, okay? Man, if you want it a little hotter, that 30, okay? And then it's so tasty. It's like a mini pizza. So I go, I know it's really blowing out there, but I'm going to really regret it if I go down to the basement and the power's out. So I go make that. And something happened in between the time I almost went to the basement and I made it. I just wasn't scared anymore. So I ate my little rice cake and looked at the wind blowing and had great thoughts, and it kind of passed. And I think at that point, Dennis called me back. Oh, yeah, man, I was really sleeping. Anyway. I admit it, I'm weird. Anyway, all right, let's get into the serious news of the day that I'm probably avoiding talking about. The looting that took place Monday morning. And I guess there's a personal aspect to all this, that all things are personal, all news stories are personal. I had just finished on Sunday a draft of a column about TIFs. I said I was going to write about TIFs. It was on my mind, tax increment financing, the city's #1 economic development program. Last week, Clerk Yarborough came out with a report showing that the program that's intended to fund development in poor neighborhoods is largely being spent in wealthy ones, so that it's a reverse Robin Hood program that robs from the poor and the middle class and feeds the rich. And there was a second report, Dave Roeder, co-wrote an article in the Chicago Sun-Times.
Roeder! I miss Dave Roeder.
I know.
What?
Come on.
Hurry up. Come on. He's always on the go, man. 4 computers on his desk. What?
No, Dave Roeder He's one of okay, now we're on a tangent about Dave Roeder. But Dave Roeder is a veteran. He's been covering planning forever. He's as old as I am, which I know that's really hard to believe. So Dave Roeder is always on the phone. Back in the old days, we were at the Bright One, and I want to say hello to him, but he's on the phone. He's got 2 computer screens. How did Roeder end up with? I don't know who he had. Whatever. He got 2 computer screens. He's always on the phone. I'm always going, Roeder, get to work.
I was in the bathroom one time, and I'm like, who is that in the stall? Come on, give me the scoop. Like, Roeder. Always on the ball. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, he wrote an excellent, I don't have it in front of me. Anyway, excellent story in the Sun-Times about TIFs, about how Lori Lightfoot's sitting on $1.8 billion. We had Tommy Tresser was on talking about that on our show. So here we have this economic development program that's intended to help the poorest of the poor. But in fact, when it's being spent, it's helping the richest of the rich. And a lot of it is being hoarded so that the mayor has, a bucket of money to dip into when she needs to dip into a bucket of money, hence slush fund. So all these things were on my mind. I was ready to write a TIF story about how unfair Chicago is dividing up the economic pie and how I called it inequity city. It was sort of just a distillation of everything I feel about Chicago and how we deal out the money. Take care of the wealthiest people first and think of the poorest people last. And then I woke to learn that bands of looters and gone on that early morning rampage through the Gold Coast, the Mag Mile, breaking windows, walking off or running off with all kinds of goods, throwing rocks at cops, shooting at cops, et cetera, and so forth. And, it was like Chicago had become Gotham City D. And suddenly I realized that many, many, many people out there were not feeling, how do I put this, charitable at the moment. You know what I'm saying, D? So I suddenly felt like it was so, tone deaf to write a column filled with wisecracks about how unfair and inequitable Chicago was, how unfairly it was distributing its economic development money to benefit the wealthiest and give the greatest disadvantage to the poor. Essentially, in my humble opinion, they really just want poor people to move out of Chicago. I think that's been pretty clear for a long time. But it just seems so tone deaf, D. Because I know what happens. Oh, let me just say this. I know what happens to white people at moments like yesterday. They get reactionary. It's like that inner Trump voter inside of them. And they all like, Ben, I don't want to hear your knee-jerk liberal stuff. I don't want to hear that do-gooder stuff. I don't want to hear your little crying over the TIFs. Nobody cares about that.
I think the correct question is, who cares, you hippie? Right?
Yes. Well, no, it's angrier than that. It's like somehow or other, I am responsible because I'm raising these issues. I mean, generally, it's who cares, you hippie, about something like a scam like a TIF. It's like, hey, life's good for me. What do you care, Ben? Remember the precinct captain who came for Rahm? I had this argument with him, ended with me threatening to call the police on him. Rahm sent a precinct captain to my house. I think it was harassment, D. I actually do believe they were trying to harass me. And the precinct captain, I was explaining to the precinct captain how he was telling me how great it is in Chicago. And I was telling him, there's parts of the city that are really suffering. And Mayor Rahm doesn't care about them. To which he said, what do you care? You live in a nice neighborhood. No. So that's a different reaction than the one of hostility and anger. Like the Dirty Harry. Oh, that's an ancient movie that nobody knows. Just sort of like,
come on, Dirty Harry. We all know Dirty Harry.
The movie came out in 1971.
But it's a famous movie. Yeah, I've seen it.
You've actually seen Dirty Harry?
Feel lucky, punk.
I guess you have seen Dirty Harry. Well, are ya? There's 6 bullets in this gun, but in all the activity, I've lost count. Did I fire 5 or did I fire anyway? So, I knew everybody was kind of that Clint Eastwood sort of fascistic Dirty Harry mode. They didn't want to hear my knee-jerk liberalism. They didn't want to hear about how inequitable Chicago was. So I had to rewrite the column and take everything into consideration. And that column comes out tomorrow. They're probably editing as we speak. This is the sound of the reader editing one of my columns.
Oh my goodness, that was good.
Thank you.
You were bringing it on the sound effects lately. You're like that guy from Police Academy.
Which guy is that? I saw Police Academy, but I can't remember that movie.
The guy who does the sound effects.
Oh, okay. Well, D, let me just say something. I've been in radio now for 3 years, D, and I've learned a few things. Some tricks of the trade. You need sound effects, okay? Very important. Like when you're doing editing, this is how the editors go. All right? I used to have a joke about the reader in the old days when the reader was at an office and down below was a Thai restaurant. And I never knew who was going to edit my copy from one day to the next. And I used to joke to the reader editor, was a different editor. I go, why don't you just open up the window and yell down to the waiter at the Thai restaurant, hey, you want to take a crack at this tip story? Anyway, so I read, the papers are filled, obviously, with articles about the looting. And hold on, where's my bright one, D? Hold on.
That's a typical Tuesday.
Here it is.
Michael Winslow was the guy's name on Police Academy, by the way.
How'd you know that?
Shout out to Frank on the live stream chat. What up, Frank?
Man, I'll tell you what. Frank is no joke. We could not do this show without Frank. I love you, Frank. Anyway, Mary Mitchell, very passionate column. I urge everybody to read it. Mary Mitchell, page 2 column for the Sun-Times. Looters are looters no matter what the circumstances. And this is what she wrote. They did it because they saw an opportunity to steal stuff they couldn't afford to buy and because they have no respect for the rule of law. She was speaking from her heart. While a large number of young black people are operating under the banner of Black Lives Matter and making good trouble, as John Lewis famously said, another group of young black people have chosen an immoral path that leads to more pain and more destruction. That is the anguished words of Mary Mitchell. Looters are looters no matter what the circumstances. Let me just point out, Mary Mitchell is a black woman. She's a legend in Chicago journalism. She's been writing a column probably as long as I am. So I guess we're in the same ballpark in terms of age. I have tremendous respect for her, and I appreciate the words she wrote. And she's writing them as a black woman. And I've learned, it's easy for white people to say the kind of things Mary Mitchell is saying. But what about white people ever talk about to the white community? Why don't you take a look at the mirror of what the white community is doing? The larger white community, the civic community, the powers that be in Chicago, that they allow these inequities to grow and grow. So I appreciate Mary Mitchell speaking from her heart, but I'm not Mary Mitchell. I'm not going to echo something that she says. So I'm going to talk to the white community. I think it's about time you take a look at the programs that you've implemented, that you've run, that you continue all these years, year after year, starving the poor neighborhoods of investment, concentrating it in the wealthiest neighborhoods. And then when there's like an explosion that happened Monday, you're outraged. Like you had no role in it. The policies that mayors going back to Harold Washington implemented had no role in it. And I'm just saying, everybody should look in the mirror at this moment. Mary Mitchell is saying the black community should look in the mirror. Well, I'm saying the white community should look in the mirror as well. And stop just pointing the finger at the other side. They're the ones who did it. Because you know what? That's the first step down the road to Trumpism. It's them. They did it. They're the ones. So anyway, that was sort of my reaction. I believe that it's a moment where we're all accountable. Lori talked about this, Lori Lightfoot, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. There should be consequences for the people who did the looting. They should be held accountable. I agree. They should be held accountable. But I think also the powers that be in this city should also be held accountable for the consequences of years and years of planning that have left some neighborhoods starving for investment and other neighborhoods overflowing. We got a great show today, everybody. Maya Dukmasova will be here. She's got a lot of thoughts, D. This could be a great Maya moment. No, yeah. Like, when Maya goes on one of those riffs,
yeah.
She's a little like Hendrix, by the way.
And a little like Monroe Anderson, cursing like a sailor.
Number one cursor on the show, I think we'll all agree, is El Dragon.
Oh, my God. His goal is to just curse.
And then
for the first time, I had to edit out something when Adolfo Mondragon came.
Now you're calling attention to the thing. Yeah, D, that's not good podcast.
Oh my God, sorry, so sorry.
Come on, D. I am an experienced podcaster. Okay, don't call attention. All right. I would have to say Adolfo's number one cursor, and number two, Maya. I think Maya's number 2. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, Maya's number 2.
And number 3 is
Mr.
Monroe.
Bike. Oh, sorry.
No, Mr. Bike, come on. Mr. Bike is a total pro. He graces us with his presence. Yeah, he is straight out of NPR, unlike the rest of us bums. Dennis, play Ray Lopez. Anyway, Maya's all fired up. She's coming to a local coverage of what
least racist
Monday
person
morning.
there is.
Fascinating stuff. She's ready to go on that riff, that Hendrix-like riff. Who knows where the guitar? Wow. You know that song Red House? You know Red House, D? You ever heard Hendrix Red House? There's a red house over yonder. Wow, wow, wow.
Hey, if you were born after the year, 1985, we got a great show for you today, guys.
No, Hendrix died in 1971. 1971, I want to say. Frank, I think it was 1971. Anyway, so I did listen to new music for 8 more years. This weekend, I listened to a lot of Stanley Turrentine, D. A lot of 1970s Stanley Turrentine. Love that man dearly. Anyway, Maya will be here. We got plenty to talk about with Maya. But before we do that, the young man from Alton, the man they call the doctor, with the news.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Name's Dennis. Been working with you for about 3 years, dude. Not a doctor, for the love of God. That's not good podcasting, all right?
By the way, I just have to tell you this one thing. I know this is a tangent with a tangent you're really rare to do, but there's a book called Song of Solomon, which I just read by Toni Morrison, and there's a street called No Doctor Street. I love that. In the book, people live on No Doctor Street. I'm like, Toni Morrison was into Dr. D's before Dr. D was even born. Even born. Anyway, sorry, dude.
How's it going? How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone's okay, by the way. Man, that storm was wicked. I took a bike ride today, and I was near Evanston. There were like 5 gigantic trees down. Everything, it's insane. Did you see anything? Any crazy damage, Ben?
Yes. Thank you for asking.
Oh, you're welcome.
Just a block away last night, I was taking my nightly constitutional, and I walked. There was a tree that literally fell in half and fell on a house. It fell on a house. For all I know, the house was badly damaged. I took a picture of it and showed it to my wife. That's how impressive that was, or depressive.
Yeah, it was very wicked. Hope everybody's okay. Like I said, I'm from Southern Illinois. I've dealt with, crazy windstorms and tornadoes a lot. So I'm just like, whatever. I went to sleep. Woke up like,
Frank texted me. Thank you, Frank. 1970, Jimi Hendrix died. 1970. Thank you, Frank. Go ahead, D.
All right. Now, the following question on the Ben Joravsky Show is a blatant attempt at sarcasm. Hey, did any news happen while we were away?
Oh.
Holy crap, did a lot go down in the city over the weekend. So let's use the time we have to unpack it all. Yes, Governor Pritzker, you're off the hook today, pal.
The enemy is you.
Me? Little smack talk, I see. All right. Well. All right. First off, we have to begin with the story that, quite frankly, has the Ben Joravsky Show written all over it. It's already long gone from the news cycle, but I'll be damned if we don't talk about it here today, all right? Now, as you know, since March 26th, due to the coronavirus pandemic, Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot closed the Chicago beaches due to the coronavirus pandemic. And since March 26th, we've all been expected to be good little citizens, obey the mayor's rules, and not dare go to that beach, or else
we will shut you down. We will cite you, and if we need to, we will arrest you, and we will take you to jail.
Well, on Saturday, after the mayor caught word of a group of beachgoers hanging at Montrose Beach, the beach stopper herself, Lori Lakefront, went with police to Montrose Beach to break up the party. Ben, did you see this? Did you see pictures? Did you see the picture of Lightfoot breaking it up?
I didn't see the picture of. No, you know what? We should have done more pre-show planning. God dang. NPR would have done that pre-show planning. I did not know there were pictures of Lori. I just saw the picture in the Bright One, my beloved Bright One, home delivered every day, of a group of people on the rocks. So I didn't see Lori Lightfoot. I didn't know. Is that true?
Yeah. I
did
saw a
not
picture
know
of her
that.
with her mask on, sitting there pointing her finger, looking like Bernie Sanders. All right, everybody.
I love Bernie. Don't you ever say anything bad about Bernie?
I didn't say anything bad. I said she looked like Lori Lightfoot a little bit. So what? So you're implying something, Ben.
Love Bernie Sanders.
After the mayor caught word of a group of beachgoers hanging at Montrose Beach, Mayor Lightfoot went with the police to Montrose Beach to break up the party. Yeah, police people, I'm not too afraid of them, but I see that mayor. Oh, my God. Mayor Lightfoot even tweeted a picture of the gathering. No one was wearing masks, or shirts for that matter, and no one was social distancing. I'm surprised the mayor was calm enough to even take the picture. But along with it, she put the following statement. It's called a pandemic, people. This reckless behavior on Montrose Beach is what will cause us to shut down the parks and lakefront. Don't make us take steps backwards.
All right.
Shortly after her arrival, officials quickly installed new fencing and limited vehicle access to the area to prevent others from gathering on the closed-off lakefront. On Sunday, Chicago Park District spokeswoman Michelle Lemons said the fence along the lakeshore was specifically put in place Saturday night, quote, to deter large gatherings like those observed on Saturday. Now, since the fencing had been posted, we've already seen reports of people still getting around it and going on the beach anyway because, well, we learned years ago, walls don't work, guys. We said it a while back. We did say this a while back, maybe right when the pandemic went down and Lori Lightfoot announced her plans here. Guys, if this plan requires every single person in the city of Chicago to not be an idiot, we're doomed. But Ben Joravsky, your thoughts, and I know you live near Montrose Harbor. Hey, you weren't one of those shirtless people hanging out in the picture, were you?
No. Although, let me say this. I want to take this moment to correct Lori Lightfoot. I look now at Twitter. While you were talking, D, yeah, I'm like a mini millennial. I went on Twitter to see what Lori Lightfoot
Wait, while we
posted.
were doing the show?
Yes, I just did.
Oh, dude, you're really stepping up that millennial game.
Yeah, okay. And I have to say, that's the same photo that ran in my beloved Bright One. And it shows a group of youngsters. They look young to me. They're in their 20s and they're shirtless and they're congregating.
Well, we all know everyone's young to you, Ben. I mean,
it's true.
you're old.
And I can't tell if they're wearing masks because a lot of them are standing with their back. But let's say they're not. First of all, that's not Montrose Beach. Now, you could be, it's not your fault. Lori Lightfoot wrote it. It's called a pandemic, people. I'm reading her tweet. This reckless behavior on Montrose Beach is what will cause us to shut down the parks and lakefronts. Don't make us take steps backwards, as you just read. But that's not Montrose Beach. I know where that is. That's along those rocks. They're not even rocks anymore. Mayor Daley took out the rocks. I miss the days of the rocks. Anyway, they put that new lakefront wall and with the ramps, which I like the old days of the rocks. Anyway, and it's just south of Montrose Beach. Now, people who are listening in Wyoming are going, I'm so confused. What difference does it make? Well, Wyoming, Kentucky, Arizona, I will now explain what difference it makes. D, get your pen and paper out, take notes.
Okay.
Part of the problem is that the beaches are off limits. The reason why people are congregating over by the rocks, which don't even exist anymore, but in my mind where the rocks used to be, the glory days of the rocks. Part of the reason they're congregating there is because they can't go to the beach. They can't go to the beach because Chicago has this bizarre prohibition against being at the beach. It's okay to be in the lakefront, but you can't be on the beach. So anyway, technically it's not Montrose Beach. It's, I don't know what it is. It's that stretch of land that is just south of Montrose Beach, heading toward Irving Park. Now, people in Wyoming listening are going, oh my God, I now see Chicago in a way it's actually a really nice place to go. People from Wyoming, if you're ever in Chicago, you go to the spot. If you look to the south, you'll see the skyscrapers of the city. And then if you look to the north, you can see like the Evanston landfill. It's like, whoa. And you'll be really tempted to pull out a doobie and go, this is really cool. So that's where the congregating was. So CD, I'm not saying they would have all been congregating there if the beaches were open, but I am kind of saying, I'm kind of like Lori Lightfoot. We'll get into this in Kim Fox. I'm not saying that Kim Fox is responsible for the looting on Sunday, but I am implying that she's responsible for the looting. Uh-oh, that was my Mike Flannery. Implying that it was responsible for the looting. So I'm just throwing that out there, D, that we have, yes, we have a very strange, in Chicago, like, fixation on certain things that people aren't supposed to do, one of which is congregating on the lakefront. No. I see so much violations of protocol D every freaking day, but that lakefront one, that triggers the powers that be in the city of Chicago. And then it's like everybody above the age of 40 on the north side, I know how people above the age of 40 talk. Because I am above the age of 40 and I live on the north side. Don't let that get around. People in Wyoming, the north side is like where all the white people live in Chicago. Anyway, so I know how they talk. And when they get together, they're like, oh my God, Lori, they call her Lori. Lori is just so right. Can you believe it? Oh my God, these hors d'oeuvres are delicious. Can I have some more of that? That's what they say when they're together, okay? So Lori going down to break up the congregation of people in the lake. Her ratings, D, through the roof because they love on the north side when Lori cracks down on beachgoers.
Well, I heard she had to stop people from asking for autographs when she went up to the. She's here to do business, not sign autographs.
She goes, I'm going to ticket you. Would you please autograph my ticket?
Oh, please ticket me and autograph it.
I love you. I'm a Northsider. I love Lori Lightfoot.
Now, what are your thoughts on that wall, huh? That fencing. Is that, that'll prevent some people, right?
Yeah,
maybe like 12-year-olds.
They're just tearing the fence down or walk over the fence. Where there's a will, there's a way. It's hot. We talked about this last week. Okay, folks, from Cheyenne, we have a lot of listeners in Cheyenne, Wyoming, so follow me on this one. The city of Chicago has these beaches, and they have harbors. They've made the beaches off limits, so all the young people in their 20s who want to get refreshed by jumping in the lake, they go to the harbors where they jump in. There's boats roving all around them. They're dodging the engines. They're sucking in the fumes and the gasoline stained water. That's because the beaches are closed. And yet in Evanston, the beaches are open. One of the great paradoxes, the town just north has the beaches open. Why, D? Why? You would think that, we're always saying in the pandemic, criticizing Trump, and I'm the first to criticize Trump, that there's no consistency to our policies. Well, how come the city of Chicago has a different beach policy than the town of Evanston, which borders it? Huh, D? Please explain that. They each share the lake. They're right next to each other. Different policies. Explain that to me, Dennis. Go ahead. That's your job as producer. Explain that. But Ben, I'm the one who asks you the questions. I'm totally unprepared.
Whose name's on that banner, all right? Not mine.
There's no banner. Oh. It's back at the office, and for all I know, they use it as a blanket, okay? So I don't know. I'm looking around. There's no banner in this. There's a picture of a Little League team from 1997 that I coached. Good team, by the way.
And a great picture of you. I know what picture you're talking about.
Well, thank you, Dennis. That was really nice of you to say.
Yeah. You looked young. It was awesome. All right.
Somehow or other, the nice thing got twisted around. Not like the old man you are now.
Oh, shout out to Jay Marie on the live stream chat. What's going on, Jay Marie? Also, Joy, welcome to the live stream chat. Glad to have you. Everybody, be nice to Joy on the live stream chat. We want her coming back. All right. Jay Marie is giving us a little report here. She says the west and south sides like her ass a bit too much, too.
Jay Marie, that may be so, but nothing like the north side. I got to tell you, they love Lori Lightfoot on the north side. She's popular everywhere. I mean, she got 75% of the vote citywide. Let's be honest. I think pretty much every ward she got around 70%. Don't quote me on that, ladies and gentlemen.
We never do.
Okay.
I saw a lady with a Lori Lightfoot lunchbox on the north side. Like, what? And thermos.
I just love her. They love her on the north side. She's just so cool. Love Lori Lightfoot.
All right, so that was on Saturday. On
She
to
got tough on those north siders.
Oh
yes.
yeah. Now on to Sunday, and while the police were busy keeping people off the beaches, actual police work had to be tended to. The following comes from the Chicago Sun-Times staff. Two people, by the way, a lot of construction going on outside of my apartment, guys, so bear with me. All right, two people shot. More than 100 people were arrested, and 13 police officers were injured as crowds broke windows and looted stores along Michigan Avenue and on the near north side overnight and in the morning, Monday morning. It started in Inglewood yesterday afternoon. About 2:30 p.m., officers responded to a report of a man with a gun. He fled as they arrived. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown, by the way, we got the counter on David Brown's job here. I say he's got about, I say about 30 more days. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown said police officers returned fire, striking the man who is expected to survive. Brown said the 20-year-old had previously faced charges of domestic battery, reckless conduct, and child endangerment. After the shooting, a crowd gathered in the area. As the unrest in Inglewood grew, police became aware of, quote, several social media posts about looting planned downtown. This is according to Brown, and as a result, the department deployed 400 officers to the area. Brown said the first looting incident was at 87th Street and the Dan Ryan Expressway, but, quote, soon car caravans were headed into the loop to begin looting. Videos posted to social media showed large crowds breaking windows and entering stores along the Magnificent Mile. Around 4 a.m., Sunday/Monday, Chicago police officers exchanged gunfire with someone near Michigan Avenue and Lake Street. No one was shot, but the Civilian Office of Police Accountability will investigate the shooting. Two other shootings took place amid the looting earlier in the morning, one in the Loop and the other in River North, leaving one man critically wounded in each. Both were taken to Northwestern Memorial Hospital. Further south in the Loop, several shops along Lake, Randolph, and State Streets were also looted, as were a jewelry store and McDonald's near the Daily Center. Looting spread into the near north side, where several businesses were hit. Mayor Lori Lightfoot called it, quote, brazen criminal looting and destruction. Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown said that police would aggressively pursue cases against people involved in the looting. A team of detectives has been assigned to scour security footage of all incidents. Brown said police will not stand by and watch downtown Chicago become, quote, someplace people fear. He promised a, quote, heavy police presence to restore order and said access to downtown will be restricted from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. effective on Monday night. Ben Joravsky, your thoughts on all this and everything that went down while we were away?
Well, many thoughts, and I'm going to hold back on the my thoughts on Lori and Kim Fox. I think you have an update on that.
Yes,
afterwards.
sir.
That's
yes, sir.
Pre-show planning. That's how we do it. I've said this in light of the Memorial Day unrest. I welcome, and I hope we get, and I don't think we're going to get, but I hope we get an investigation into what went down, into what police strategies were being imposed, what were the rules that the police were following, what were the tactics and, that they were employing. Was there an overall plan? Troy LaRaviere, who comes on the show regularly, I haven't had him on in a while, I should bring him back. Probably when we come back from vacation, we'll bring him back. Pointed it out. You know, when he was on the show, he goes, what was the overall plan dealing with what you knew would be a very dangerous situation in the aftermath of George Floyd's murder? So I'm still welcoming that. Everything from why police were so determined to arrest protesters who were trying to get to Donald Trump's building, to why the Loop was protected at the expense of the neighborhoods. I'm saying that's the accusation from Raylo. Was there a direct correlation between protecting the Loop and the neighborhoods? And so these are just some of the questions that are still unanswered from the weekend in May. Now we have a whole new set of questions and a good editorial in today's Bright One, the Sun-Times. Got to give them credit. Don't always agree with the Bright One's editorials, but in this particular case, I think they laid it out pretty well. And just let's do an investigation of what went down. First of all, there's two things. One, what happened with the police shooting? I'm trying not to be cynical and jaded, but often the official version does not correspond to what then you have to get was
Oh boy! Hey Ben, you there?
And
hey,
who was behind it?
Sorry, your microphone was going out a little bit there. Sorry, go ahead and repeat.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now.
Is it better now? Is it working now?
Step away from the microphone. Social distance from that microphone a little bit, huh?
Is this better?
Yeah, it sounds a little better.
My name is Dennis. All right. So anyway, we have to. There's a lot of investigating. I'm still thinking again, going back to Memorial Day weekend, Popcorn Gate, the police in Bobby Rush's office. There've been two conflicting explanations for what went down. I'd like to know were police following orders from the top? Was there a directive saying go to that office, as the police say, or was it like Bobby Rush said they just took over his office? I mean, these are high-profile moments in Chicago. People get fired up. There's shocking headlines. There's sensational coverage in the media. Afterwards, columnists fill the pages with all kinds of thoughts. Everybody weighs in. I weigh in on the left. Johnny Cass weighs in on the right. And Mark Brown in the middle, et cetera, and so forth. But then, we just move on to the next crisis. So, D, I would really like to see the city unpack this, but the skeptic in me says we're never going to do it because Chicago does not like to look back. I'll tell you what, folks, there's a great article on A Tangent Within a Tangent in the Chicago Reader that Christopher Chandler wrote. 2002, it came out about the rioting that occurred after Martin Luther King was killed in 1968, getting at Mayor Daley, the old Mayor Daley's shoot to kill order. That's a situation that has never been thoroughly investigated. I think Chicago is sometimes determined not to learn from its mistakes because it would mean you would have to change your policies. And basically, the policies that Chicago implements work pretty well for most of the people in the city, definitely most of the people on the north side, which may be why they love mayors so much. Because they didn't just wake up loving Mayor Lori Lightfoot, D. They also love Mayor Rahm Emanuel. Loved him. 75% vote. We love Mayor Rahm. Even after LaQuan McDonald, Ben, there were extenuating circumstances to that. And he was cleaning up a lot of things left over for Mayor Daley. And then when you look at it, they love Mayor Daley. Okay, I always argue with Northsiders and Chicagoans in general. If Mayor Rahm cleaned up all the bad stuff that Mayor Daley left behind, why did you keep voting for Mayor Daley all those years? Well, Ben, you ask tough questions, and I really don't know.
Take a chill pill, man.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So, in general, Chicago is determined never to learn from the past, so I don't have any expectations that these questions will be answered or asked even. So, that's my general thoughts of what went down this weekend.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add before we move on to, I guess, what we can call Finger Point Gate?
I believe I have a clip. How about that? My inner Mr. Bike. I have a clip for Finger Point Gate.
All right. Well, let's talk about it here. So that was Monday morning. All that went on. Later on in the day, the finger pointing began. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was at odds with top prosecutor Kim Foxx on Monday after she suggested that the surge of lootings on a lack of serious charges earlier in the summer that may have encouraged more of the same. All eyes were on Chicago Sunday evening as scores of residents were seen breaking into stores and vandalizing property in a show of widespread looting. By the way, this comes from Fox 32. I didn't write this, all right? Go talk to them, not me.
It sounds a little Fox 32.
Yeah, I should have put that in my script there. Fox 32. Talk to Flannery, not me, all right? All eyes were on Chicago's. Go, let's hear it.
Looting like I've never seen. A wave of people came running down the street. I was stunned.
God damn, that Flannery is just excellent. I can't believe how good that Mike Flannery is. That's maybe your third best impression.
What's number one?
Bill Clinton.
Oh, I have a Bill Clinton update. Thank you for reminding me.
Oh, nice. All right, so let me read this again. And just remember, I didn't write this. Fox 32 did. Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot was at odds with top prosecutor Kim Foxx on Monday after she suggested the surge of lootings on a lack of serious charges earlier this summer that may have encouraged more of the same. All eyes were on Chicago Sunday evening as scores of residents were seen breaking into stores and vandalizing property in a show of widespread looting along Magnificent Mile. A clash between the Chicago Police Department and civilians upset over false claims of an officer-involved shooting of a minor resulted in an embattled night of unrest. More than 100 people were arrested, 13 police officers injured. In a press conference, Mayor Lightfoot vehemently condemned the looting and tersely asked the Cook County State's Attorney to effectively step up to the plate. I have two clips here, and then Ben will play yours. First, let's hear Mayor Lori Lightfoot talking about the Cook County State's Attorney and her job or lack thereof.
Police officers put themselves at great risk last night. Literally, they were being fired upon as they were working to stop the looters. That can't be a circumstance that goes unchecked. And so we are in conversation. Both the state's attorney will be, I have not yet had the opportunity to reach out to Chief Judge Evans and presiding Judge Leroy Martin, but we will. Our folks are, our staffs are in conversation. We've got to make sure that if the evidence supports it, these individuals are fully held accountable.
Okay, so I really think we should play them all before I take the deep dive.
Here we go. Here's Kim.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's Kim Foxx on Lori.
The notion that people believe that they are somehow empowered because people weren't prosecuted for looting back in the wake of the unrest beginning is simply not true. Those cases are coming to court now.
Yeah. I just have to say this. There's so much gamesmanship going on here, but just in the Lori Lightfoot's snippet, Mayor Lori Lightfoot snippet. So she lets us all know perhaps the most serious thing that went down on Sunday. There was gunfire and people were shooting at the police. And that's a very serious offense. And she's sort of applying that an offense like that would go without charge. And I've been around Chicago a long time, D. I can't recall that ever happening where they had somebody with strong evidence took a shot at a police officer and the state's attorney dropped the case. So there's kind of an implication in what Lori Lightfoot is saying is that the state's attorney is not strong enough on these cases, and we better make sure that she prosecutes those cases. And so that's like a subtle, not so subtle, but way of just shifting the light away from her to Kim Foxx without saying it. And then I got to give Kim Foxx credit. She comes right back and go, if you got it, bring it. If you got evidence, show me the evidence. And this is something else. And I've been talking to a lot of people about this. Do you think those looters said to themselves before they went on that rampage, well, our statistics show that Kim Foxx will probably drop the charges. So even if we're arrested, we'll only spend a few hours in jail, maybe a night. She'll drop the charges and bingo, let's go, baby. I don't think that discussion went on. I think this is a straw man that's been set up to knock down because of the overall attitudes and policies Kim Foxx has toward criminal justice, which we'll get into in a little while.
Now, what do you think Mike Flannery would have to say about all this before we play this last clip?
It was like a wave coming down Michigan Avenue for as far as the eye could see. A wave of people overpouring the police. I I have never seen anything.
By the way, download our interview, our Benny J bonus interview with Mike Flannery. Probably going to be the last one we have.
Oh, definitely. Ban these imitations.
Go download that at both Chicago Sun-Times and Chicago Reader websites and wherever else you download your favorite podcast. All right. Now leave it to these dang reporters to, I don't know, do their job and ask further follow-up questions to Mayor Lightfoot about all this. Let's see here. We have the audio. Boy, I bet she wished she was on that beach breaking up that party in 3, 2, 1.
It almost sounds as though you're saying this is the reason we have it is because the courts and the prosecutors were not doing their job, that they were going too easy on the looters from the last time around.
Don't take it from me. Just go by what's been done.
I'm just asking.
I don't want to do your job for you,
saying?
but just go by what's been done. There were no consequences for the people arrested.
Greg, let's be clear. I mean, and don't bait us, okay?
No, I was asked to ask this.
Do not bait us. Do not bait us. This is a serious situation. People are concerned about their safety. Officers are concerned about their safety. So don't bait us. What we're saying is, as a result of what happened last night, there have to be consequences. We've got teams of people that are aggressively out there identifying the people responsible, looking at the plates, and we're going to bring them to justice. But when we do, and we do make those arrests, our expectation is that this is going to be treated with the level of seriousness that it should be, period. Don't try to bait us, mischaracterize, pit one against the other. We're not playing that. We are in a serious situation here, and we need a serious response. That's what we're saying, period.
I'm not trying to bait you, Mayor. I'm just asking you a question that seems
Ask and answer. You have another question?
Yes, I do. You talked a little bit about it, but several questions have come in. How do you convince people and businesses
All right, we're done with that.
Yeah, we're done with that. That was the, just so people know, the other male voice was Police Chief David Brown. All right, don't bait us. Come on. That was a reporter asking an excellent follow-up question. I want to give a shout out. I believe it was Craig Wall from ABC. The Bright One did not identify him. Come on, Bright One. I gave you credit for the editorial. Give credit to a reporter when he does a good job. I think it was Craig Wall. And if wasn't Craig Wall, whoever it was a great follow-up question. Because she was strongly suggesting and implying that somehow or other Kim Foxx dropped the ball after the Memorial Day protest, that she did not vigorously prosecute the cases, and Kim Foxx felt compelled to defend herself. So like Mayor Lori Lightfoot wants it two ways. She wants to make it a pitch as the mayor, the law and order mayor, who's very concerned about lawlessness and looting. And I understand that. We all should be concerned about lawlessness and looting. So I absolutely understand how she wants to send a message to the citizens of Chicago, to the residents of the Mag Mile, to the business community, to the real estate investors, to all the civic club and members who are shocked that the heart of the city's wealthiest community could be violated that way. She wants to send a message that she's very serious about protecting it so it never happens again. At the same time, she still has those vestiges of a reformer who ran for office largely, originally when she ran for office, it was by virtue of the work she had done on the police board on the issue of police accountability. And so there's a very serious issue in the criminal justice system that's existed for ever in this city, and that is how Black people are routinely rounded up and thrown into jail, often for doing things people do every day, like smoking reefer. And they get unfairly tagged with a criminal charge that haunts them for many, many years. And Kim Foxx ran in part to end that practice. Lori Lightfoot ran in part to end that practice. And now Lori Lightfoot wants to distinguish herself from Kim Foxx because Kim Foxx has become like a punching bag for everybody who thinks that somehow or other, fairly and judiciously doling out justice is being soft on crime. and that Kim Foxx is responsible for what went down Tuesday. That is a refrain that you are going to be hearing from many columnists, from many politicians, from Donald Trump. They're going to bring in the name George Soros to talk about the money that Soros contributed to Kim Foxx. They're going to link Kim Foxx to a bunch of state's attorneys throughout the country who are all about reforming the system. They're going to say their George Soros prosecutors are weak in crime, and as a result, they're rampaging through your city, all in a way to get you to vote against criminal justice reformers, and all in a way to get you to vote for Donald Trump. That's the game that's being played. And Lori Lightfoot is skirting that one. She's trying to distinguish herself from Kim Foxx. At the same time, she doesn't want to get into a public fight with Kim Foxx because they share some of the same donors and they share a background, if you will. They both launched their careers in part talking about reforming the police. So, Dee, that was a game that Lori Lightfoot was playing. And when she chastised that reporter, that was unfair because he was getting right at the heart of what was going on. And then she was like trying to pretend like he was inventing something when, in fact, he was legitimately responding to what she had put out by suggesting. So good job to that reporter. It reminded me of, remember the haircut gate?
Oh, yes. Haircut Gate.
A while ago.
Oh, yeah. So many things have happened since Haircut Gate.
Yeah,
But yeah, please refresh everybody. Haircut Gate, for those who may not be aware.
I can't believe I still remember Haircut Gate. It was early on in the pandemic. I was in the attic. I was looking out, and there was a guy coming in and out of the porta potty.
Ah, the good old days.
Anyway, I'm still in the attic, and there's still a guy coming in and out of the porta potty. But Haircut Gate was, of course, Mayor Lori Lightfoot came out with this funny public service announcement where she was saying the whole bit was, don't go to the haircut. You don't have to worry about how you look. It's not that important. What really matters is safety. And then I'm sorry, it's like the mixed messages have been going on. There was a photo posted on social media of by a woman who had come in and cut Lori Lightfoot's hair. So it was a classic, as Dr. D would say, rules for thee, not for me moment. And when they asked her, when reporters dutifully asked her about, why she would get a haircut after telling everybody not to go to the barber, she ripped into the reporter. How dare you burden me with such trivialities while I'm dealing with this pandemic? All right? I got to look good because I'm the mayor of the city. All right? And the reporter's like, hubba. And meanwhile, to the point, Northsiders, yeah. Oh my God. What a triviality.
The haircut looks great.
She needs a haircut. Leave her alone. They love her on the North Side, ladies and gentlemen. I got ripped. Remember that, D? That's when I got nervous. Better not say anything bad about Lori Lightfoot. My neighbors looking mad at me.
I'd come over and you'd be stuffed in the porta potty. Oh my God. I was so worried that was going to happen.
So this was just like Haircut Gate. Every time you ask her a tough question, she just, stop asking that question. Don't bait me. Wait, you're the one. I wouldn't ask the question. It was a follow-up to what you said. Did you say it or you didn't say it? So I gave that guy, Craig Walk, a lot of credit. Then he backed off. I wasn't trying to bait you. All right, that was it. I wasn't trying to bait you.
Okay.
Because the other thing, reporters, that's the other thing. You're dependent on the powers that be, City Hall. They give you the information. You get them mad at you. They're going to treat them like me, D. Some guy in an attic. You think I get my phone calls returned?
Well, what's that feller's name again? Craig Wall?
Yeah.
Well, Craig, if you're listening to this, hey, if you want to do a podcast, hey, I'm available, man. I'll produce it. Come on, bro. I need some extra cash. Come on, let's go.
He's
Craig,
the best, Craig.
Yeah.
Right there.
Craig Wall show. Let's do it.
Yeah. He knows all the technical stuff, like headphones. He knows that they're called cans.
Nice, Ben. Nice.
Well, I trying to get it wrong.
It took about 3.5 years, but you finally got it. We call them cans in the radio business, not headphones. I usually call
headphones, yeah. Cans.
Buckets or something. I don't know.
Buckets. Yeah. So anyway, Lori was up to her old games in that one, but you know what? No one cares because they love her in the lakefront, D. They love her. They love her when she gets tough on the lakefront, even though people are congregating on that spot because she closed off the beaches. They love her on the north side of Chicago.
Indeed, they do.
We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail.
All right. Now, as I said at the beginning of the program, we have a brand new song from Michael Girardi to play for all of you. The song is called World's Greatest Newspaper. Okay, but before we get to that, let's go to the live stream chat here. I love you guys on the live stream chat. We keep our host honest here on the Ben Joravsky Show, all right? Shout out to Jay Marie. She is responding to your riff on Lori versus Kim Fox. She says, "Go off, Ben." And then and then Brianna said, "God, what would we do without Ben spitting truth?" And then Frank says, "Now you can see why WCPT fired Ben." And then Brianna said, "Bingo, Frank and Jay." And then Jay Marie. He did, however, vote for Lori Lightfoot. Haven't let him off the hook for that one just yet.
Jay Marie, you're right. Twice. I admit it, Jay Marie. I cannot tell a lie. I did vote for her twice.
Good times, everybody. And shout out
because Troy wasn't in the race, Jay Marie. I'd have voted for Troy.
No, I'm looking here. All right, yeah, keep on weighing in on the live stream chat. We'll try and read your comments a little later on. Coming up after the brand new song from Michael Girardi, we are going to be talking with our good friend and Chicago Reader colleague, the one, the only, Maya Dukmasova. Ben, what are you and Maya going to be talking about? Let's keep these listeners listening.
News coverage. Oh, yeah, it's important. I learned a lot about this stuff. You got to tease, D. You got to tease. We're going to be talking about news coverage. Maya's got a lot of thoughts on the news coverage of the looting. So curious what Maya has to say, because D, I'm going to tell you something about good podcasting.
Oh, please tell me. I'm taking notes. Please tell me.
Okay, get the paper out, get the pen out. Ready?
Tell me about good podcasting, please. What is this?
You never want to have the interview before you do the show.
Oh.
Whoa. So people go, well, Ben, why don't you rehearse the questions? Well, then it's a little stale. So I don't know what Maya's going to say. Lord knows what we have no net either. It's the Ben Joravsky Show. Remember that riff on Hillary Clinton and Mayor Lori Lightfoot, D? I had no idea that was coming. Telling you what, Maya's like Hendrix, man. Give her a guitar. Wow, wow. There's a red house over yonder. Wow, wow, wow.
You learn something new every day here on the Ben Joravsky Show.
Right. That's called podcasting. All right, D?
All right, let's hear the latest from Michael Girardi. This new song is called World's Greatest Newspaper. It's the Ben Joravsky Show. We are live from my apartment in Ben's attic. Maya Dukmasova up next.
Open up wide, take a look inside. Keep an open mind. But keep his point of view. Why? The anti-labor world's greatest newspaper will always be here for you. So come on.
Hour number 2 of your Ben Joravsky Show is brought to you in part by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 9, the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, and the Chicago Federation of Labor. Benny J, take it away.
Before I bring Maya on, I was going to give a shout out to Michael Girardi, World's Greatest Newspaper, his latest song. Michael, I don't know if you realize this, you were channeling your inner Ray Davies. Michael's probably the only guy who knows who Ray Davies is. He was a lead singer for a group called the Kinks, they were popular in the 60s, long before everybody else's time. But you sounded so much like Ray Davies in that song. Open up wide, take a look inside, keep an open mind. Yeah, that's me, Mike, trying to keep an open mind. Expose. I love that line about he said he would watch Channel 9 for the cartoons and then stick around for the lies.
Yeah, and I want to remind everybody too, you can download that song, I believe. Let me double check and see if that is on the Bandcamp page. Just search for Mike Girardi and Bandcamp. Looks like it's not on there yet, but you could download the rest of Ben Joravsky, Mike Girardi's songs at Michael Girardi Bandcamp. Put in Mike Girardi, Gerardi, Bandcamp, search for him, download him, tell your friends, and spread the word.
All right. Thank you, D. Maya Dukmasova is with me, my partner in crime from my beloved Chicago Reader. Welcome back to the show, Maya.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
You sound so clear, so crystal clear. It's this new Google thing. I love it. Did you have a nice week? You had a week off last week, correct? Or was it the week before that you had the week off?
Yeah, the week before last, I had a week off. I was moving, so it was really busy, but I'm glad to be back.
All right. Well, I know you have a lot of things you want to talk about the TV coverage. We're going to get into Lori Lightfoot and Kim Fox, and then I'll get a Charles Green update from you. So let's start at the top. I'm not quite sure where you're going to go with this. Can't wait to follow you on one of your great riffs. But give folks your thoughts about the TV coverage of what went down on Monday morning and in the aftermath.
So my thoughts about the TV coverage. Basically, I, as every sort of probably most kind of plugged in young millennials, once I woke up on Monday and heard there was some kind of news related to looting, I went directly to Twitter and tried to catch up on what was happening. And there right away there was a lot of information about how this unrest downtown and people kind of smashing store windows and stealing stuff was tied to an incident of a police shooting that had happened in Inglewood on Sunday. I hadn't heard about the police. I wasn't kind of keyed into the news on Sunday. And so this was all very new to me. But right away, I also noticed, this was Monday morning, probably around 8 a.m., that there was a ton of tweets about how bad the local TV news coverage was of this. So I decided, talked to Sujay real quick, and he suggested that I do a story. Sujay Kumar, our editor-in-chief, one of our co-editors-in-chief. So he suggested that what if I just followed the local news coverage on TV and wrote about what kind of impressions I had of the events based on what they were showing on the TV news. So I spent most of yesterday just plugged into watching the newscasts on ABC and NBC and CBS and WGN. And I have to say that, like, truly, if I had no idea what was going on, there really wasn't anything that I could have gleaned in terms of an in-depth explanation of why this was happening. The way that the TV news was presenting all of this was constant flashing of the words like chaos, violence, unrest, like robberies, looting. Like there was images of, tons of Black people around various shopping areas downtown. There was constant footage of the Best Buy parking lot in Lincoln Park with like trash strewn in the parking lot. As the day went on, there was more and more kind of reporter stand-ups interspliced where they were showing, footage of people from the neighborhoods cleaning up helping clean up some of the broken glass and the trash that was all around these shopping areas. There were interviews with angry store owners, mostly from Jewelers Row on Wabash, because a lot of those jewelry stores are small businesses where I guess it's pretty easy for reporters to just connect with someone who owns or manages a store rather than like a big chain like Best Buy. So there was tons of interviews with frustrated store owners. Some of them had been had their stores broken into one or two other times already over the summer, ever since the civil unrest around George Floyd's killing. And then, of course, we had the severe extreme weather events that hit us in the afternoon. My street, actually, I'm in the part of Rogers Park where the mini tornado hit. So there was like down trees all over my street. So the newscasts became extremely focused on the severe weather events, but still there was like quite a bit of coverage of the civil unrest. And finally, what I saw was an interview that Dave Savini did from CBS. He was the first. I guess they kept repeating this. That this is like an exclusive interview. That they were the first ones to get it. And there was a brief interview that he did with the mother of the man who was shot by police on Sunday night. So what we know so far about the circumstances of that shooting, and I actually I was just listening into Bond Court today, which started at noon, but as of this moment when you called, they still hadn't, as far as from what I caught, they still hadn't had the man in Bond Court, but he's supposed to appear in Bond Court today. He's charged. So he was shot. He survived. His condition was stabilized at the UFC hospital. And now he's charged with, I think, like either aggravated battery or attempted murder of a police officer. The police said that this guy had a gun and that he shot at them, and that's why they shot him. People in the neighborhood are saying that he wasn't armed and he was running away from the cops. The cops had put out a tweet with like a picture of a gun in some grass that they claimed was his. But basically, yesterday afternoon, Dave Savini had this exclusive interview with on CBS with the mother of this guy who was shot, and she was saying that he was unarmed. But what was so kind of striking to me was that at one point they showed images that I guess they found on social media of this guy, Latrell Allen, posing with some guns on social media. And so in the footage on the news, like Dave Savini is like shows these images to the guy's mom, and he's like, "Is this your son?" And she's standing there with also, I guess, the probably her parents, but it's like Latrell Allen's grandparents. So the three of them are standing there. Dave Savini is showing her his phone with these images on them, saying like, "Is this your son?" And she was like, "Yeah, that's him." And then he was like, "Well, what does it say to the public? Like, what do these images say?" And he was just kind of grilling her about like, what these images of her son posing with these guns communicate to the public. And I just found that like, it was just, I feel like it harkens back to such a like classic kind of historical trend of like shaming Black women for the perceived transgressions of their children and shaming poor women for the perceived transgressions of their children. And so already that's like a very grotesque thing. But also then I kept thinking like, this woman, her son is like in the hospital. Like he could have been killed. Like her son was shot. He's in the hospital. She is like agreed to give this interview. And now this reporter is like grilling her, essentially like questioning her integrity and morality as a mother based on these images that they found on social media. Who like, again, like who even knows if she's ever seen them before? The whole thing was just like really audio visually overwhelming and very, very intense, and like to me, as somebody who doesn't watch local news broadcasts on a regular basis, it was just like very overwhelming and confusing, and I left with a lot of sensations of like chaos and uncertainty, but not with a lot of sense of like insight, and definitely no kind of smart or in-depth analysis of anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, go ahead.
So and one more thing I would add is like one of the reasons why I wanted to write about this is because a couple of years ago there was a study that was done that of kind of news consumption patterns in Chicago, and 90%. So when people are asked like where do they get their news, almost 80% of respondents indicate television. So television is like the most prominent source of news for people, followed by like friends and family, and then social media. So if most people get their news from TV, what kind of impression do they have of what's going on in the city if that's the only place that they get the news? And I would say, based on watching all of this yesterday all day, it's you get the impression that this is a place where like crime is just senselessly happening, that Black people are threatening nice white people and their businesses, and that no one's doing anything about it. And I couldn't think of a more, I don't know, unhelpful and incorrect perspective to have if one actually gives a damn about this place at all.
Wow, a lot to unpack there, Maya. And before I dive into what that larger question that you asked, like, what's your view of the world if all you gather is information? The only information you gather is local television coverage, which is a powerful. You can spend a long time talking about that. And before I get into the other thing he set up, whether you realize it or not, the double whammy, contrasting the coverage between civil unrest and a tornado, which was literally in the same day. And I have a lot of thoughts the way TV covers the weather, but we'll hold off on both of those. Let's get into what was going down with the reporter who showed the mother the images of her son, Latrell Allen, on a social media pose with a gun. I didn't see it, so everything is based on your reporting of it.
Yeah.
I've seen enough television coverage of events like this to know that there's a moment of instant judgment that happens on TV. It happens in the media in general, but it's happening right now, right there in the moment on TV, and then it happens on Twitter. And this is why I cannot stand Twitter. But anyway, and that instant judgment is this. Latrell Allen has his story, which is that he was running away from the cops. The police have their story, which is that Latrell Allen shot him. So instantly, we have to make a judgment. We're being asked to make a judgment. Who's telling the truth? 99% of the times in the past, the public automatically believed the police version. That has started to. Thank you for that correction. Thank you for it's good. It was good. Laquan McDonald ended some of that when the video showed an absolute contradiction of what the official police report was. And so I think that's what was going on. Maya, I think that reporter was saying, well, how can we believe your son if he had these photos on his social media? And so the takeaway is, I think what I probably hear in Twitter battles, social media battles, and in the comments below a news story is, oh, of course the guy's lying. Look at those pictures. That's what I think is happening. There's like instant judgment. We're going to make an instant judgment. It's going to be put in person's head. And that's the takeaway. Your thoughts?
Yeah. And I guess I think the bottom line is that the goal for these TV news stations is to attract and keep viewers on their channels, because the more people are watching, the better their ratings are. That I guess that the whole the better their business is doing. So this is a commercial operation. The goal of which is to attract and keep the maximum amount of viewers for the longest amount of time. Every one of these, so there's like 5 local TV news stations. There's like Channel 2, which is hold on, I can't keep them straight. There's
CBS.
Yeah, you've got your CBS Channel 2, NBC Channel 5, ABC Channel 7, WGN, which is Channel 9, and then Fox, which is Channel 32. All of them have newscasts at basically the same exact time. They start broadcasting at like 4 a.m. and they go nonstop for the local news broadcast. They go nonstop till like 7. Then they have 11 to noon to 1 p.m. type of time slot. And then they start again around 4 p.m. and they go probably till about 6. And it's prime time and they show like, you know, whatever their parent channels various content is, you know, The Bachelor and Blackish and like whatever kind of like shows that people watch in primetime on those channels. And then they have their evening newscasts, usually, you know, like 10 p.m. That's the last broadcast, the local news broadcast of the day. So all of them are airing at exactly the same time, and all of them are competing for the same pool of viewers. So, you know, I guess the strategy is that they need to attract as many viewers as possible, and they do that by kind of being the most extreme and salacious and sort of eye-popping in their coverage. So when the goal is to attract and maintain the maximum amount of people, when that is the primary goal of your operation as a business, then like, of course, there's no, you know, it's no wonder that like you're not getting the most in-depth and nuanced coverage of anything, because that the primary goal isn't to further an understanding of like social and economic conditions that lead to an eruption of some kind of violence or some kind of property damage. Like they hear, you know, people hear about violence or property damage and they just want to see images of it. They want to see images of it. They want to see like the kind of, it immediately triggers in all of us, like on a social psychological level, a kind of voyeuristic response. And one of the things that was also so disturbing is like the way that watching this stuff, the way that, and I mean, anyone who's watched cable news shows, you know, your CNN or your Fox News or whatever, it's the same kind of logic. But like, there's something about the way that this imagery and this footage is strung together and the way that the anchors and the reporters speak that really like kind of numbs you. Like you become, it's sort of like watching an action movie. Like you feel glued to it, but you're not actually like processing information. Like your senses are triggered, your sense of suspense is triggered, but you're not actually like, you're not brought into a state of contemplation by any of this. And one of the moments that I was so kind of, that I sort of like, I feel like I was kind of jolted out of it to like become like a little more aware of what I was seeing, was there was footage that was shown on like several of a couple of the different newscasts in the afternoon where they would like speak over the top of random footage of the previous night's looting that was just being shown. And one of the images one of the video clips that they were showing was a bunch of cops beating up a black man with long dreadlocks. And the way that the camera was pointed, it was kind of like far away and across the street, but you could see probably about like 4 or 5 cops just like wailing on this man. And as there's this constant, you know, conversation and words like chaos and violence and damage being thrown around, and you find yourself just like absorbing the image of these cops beating this black man, like, oh, like, you know, this is like police taking care of the situation. At no point is there a pause and a conversation about like, what are we actually seeing? Like, who is this man that these cops are just on camera beating? Like, we are supposed to assume that this is a person who deserved this beating because he participated in the looting, but we don't know that. This man could have just been walking down the street. Like, there's just like no space for any kind of critical analysis of anything. There's just nothing, there's no way to fill your head with anything but just like this stream of images of like confusion and chaos and violence. And the narrative that's presented is that there are these like scary Black people that are running amok in downtown Chicago, and there's pissed off business owners. And then, oh, here's another thing that I noticed across all the channels. They constantly had like little stand-up interviews with like middle-aged white women talking about how upset they were and how tragic this was, and like how they were like, you know, they were showing these people like cleaning up these various parking lots and sidewalks, like doing like good community kind of neighborly activity. So the narrative is like, you know, these like out of control young Black people are like ruining the city, and these like mostly white business owners are just like trying to survive, and these nice white neighbors in these communities are like doing the best they can to help out. Which, like, you know, this is just like there's just been decades of this. This is just the way that like TV news, I feel like, has covered the city of Chicago for years and decades. And it's just very disheartening because it doesn't promote any sense that like you as like a person who lives in the city are somehow implicated. That like maybe something about the way that you as a news consumer are living, about the way that the city works, makes these conditions possible. And you pointed out to me the Mary Mitchell column in the Sun-Times, because I mean, okay, like I was watching TV news, but like, of course, like the newspapers are also implicated in this problematic coverage. But you told me to read the Mary Mitchell Sun-Times column from today, and I did. And one of the things that she says in there is like, we don't know why these people, you know, are like engaging in this blatant criminal activity, but there's like absolutely no excuse for this looting. Well, I mean, I feel like that's just not, that's like a kind of a very lazy framing for it. Like I was listening to these bond hearings today where a lot of these people who were arrested for the looting were coming up for a bond hearing. So many of these people have jobs, have kids, have a church that they go to or whatever that they're affiliated with, and they have no prior criminal record. These are just regular people who in a moment of some kind of social upheaval, there's kind of a, I think, as we see in any condition such as like a mass gathering or a sports event or a concert or any kind of situation in which there's lots of people and not a sense of like tight kind of social control, people follow there's like a kind of herd instinct. And the way that these bond court hearings, that the way that the lawyers were describing how a person went about their actions was oftentimes that like they saw someone grabbing stuff from a store, they went in themselves. So it's not unique to Black people that in a situation of like kind of social chaos, there's a tendency to sort of just like go with the flow of whatever the people around you are doing. This is just like a universal human response to any kind of chaotic situation. But what was interesting to me is that like these are people, what gets you to a point where as just like a regular working person who's probably got like a minimum wage job and a family and some kids, you kind of throw caution to the wind and you follow along with like whatever the kind of chaotic situation around you that's happening. Like there is, like Mary Mitchell is wrong. Like there is an answer to this, but it has to do with the conditions of our city. That like, why are so many working people who are invested in these communities and live here have a sense of just like, you know, that like, fuck it. Like I'll take my chances. Having had no prior criminal history. This isn't an issue of, I feel like, you know, blatant criminality or some kind of like wrong values in the African American community. There's there's something happening, and we know what's happening. There's like people are generally feeling like alien. We're not living in the same place. Like the people who are pissed off that the jewelry stores got broken into are not living in the same place as the people who are like working and going to church here and never having had a criminal record decide to, go through the broken window of the jewelry store.
Wow, a lot to unpack there. By the way, I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but I think an act of rage where you break a window, it just everything in the world just upsets you to that point. I think metaphorically, I think a lot of people voting for Donald Trump is like a similar reaction. It's just like,
yes,
I've had it. I'm going to vote for Donald Trump.
It's a fucking reaction. It's the same fucking reaction.
Yeah, and you could argue that voting for Donald Trump and unleashing the last 3 years is more destructive than the rampage that went on Monday morning. I can make that argument. Definitely at this moment of this pandemic. But when you said that reaction, that gut reaction, that's what I thought of. That's what's popped into my mind. All right, a couple things to follow up on that you said. Before we get to the tornado, really want you because I know weather coverage is a trip on the TV. Oh my God! My late mom, may she rest in peace, watching the weather on the TV, called me up to tell me what she just saw on the TV. Anyway, the impact on someone's brain from consuming hours and hours of local TV coverage. I tease Maya because the first interview I ever did with Maya back in the old days before I got fired at the radio station, she came on to talk about the hours that she had spent listening to Mayor Rahm's podcast, which is like, well, someone had to do it, so he dumped it on Maya. Thank God I didn't do that story. Maya did it, so I didn't have to do it. So all that inane gobbledygook from Rahm and his brainwashing and his weird worldview. So, all right, so that's one type of brainwashing that can impact your brain, listening to hours and hours of Rahm. What's the impact, in your humble opinion, of listening to hours and hours of local news coverage?
I mean, I just emerged from yesterday's workday just feeling dead inside. Like, I didn't have any sense of understanding of what the hell was going on. All I had was a sense of like, something's fucking going down. Like, scary stuff is going down, and it's wild and chaotic. And maybe I should keep watching this. Maybe I'll find out in the next segment, like, why is this happening? What's happening? Who are these people? But never, I never got anything. It's like, it was just nothing but like a never-ending stream of the same very extreme descriptions of the same events.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I just...
Interesting contrast between what you described between the reporter thrusting the photo of the Latrell Allen posing with guns in front of the mom, with what happened when, I don't know if you, I sent this to you, I don't know if you listened to it, but Dee, why don't, here I want to do my Dr. Bike. Dennis, could you play for Maya the clip of Lori Lightfoot chastising Craig Wall from ABC?
Yeah, I caught that. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
All right, I need a little more time here, gang. Hang tight. Hold on.
Crying out.
Come on, Dennis.
You threw me off here.
Put the doobie down. All right?
Oh my God.
He's not doing a
Never make it
doobie.
on local TV.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sounds like a place to be, huh?
You gotta be wired for that. You gotta be ready.
No, man, he's a great guy.
All
right.
I love a great guy. All right, hold on. I'm looking for the email here. He threw me off guard here. I didn't have it pulled up. Why don't you give us a recap of what she said there?
Say it,
That's where he is, working at that pace.
Where the hell did it go? Hold on.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
I'm on the Ben Joravsky Show email rather than mine. By the way, you can send us an email, BennyJShow@gmail.com. BENNY, the letter J show.
He'll kick this out of the podcast, by the way.
Oh,
This will
no.
all be gone in a podcast.
Only for the live viewers.
Well, it's at 2:36 if you decide to, D.
Well, I got to get that job at CBS somehow, huh? All right.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm playing it. Wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, my dear Lord. I'm embarrassed. All right, hold on. Let me grab it here. I got the thing. What the? All right. Hang tight. Okay. Here we go.
It almost sounds as though you're saying this is the reason we...
Did you guys not hear that?
Yeah. All right. I'll just say it. I'll just say what happens. So we already played it. We already did the riff, and Maya, you heard it. But just for folks who may have forgotten what happened a half hour ago, Craig, police chief, gave this suggestion that perhaps the looters from the Memorial Day rioting and unrest had not been adequately punished. And so that may have been an incentive for others to go out and loot last night, thinking that there would be no consequences to their action. Craig Wall asked a follow-up question.
ABC 7.
Yes. Very good. She knows her stuff, having spent the entire day. And then Lori ripped them. And she said, "Don't bait me." And I was just curious with the reaction of Lori and the way Mayor Lori Lightfoot handled Craig Wall's interrogation with how Mrs. Allen handled Dave Savini's interrogation on Channel 2. Did she say to Dave Savini, "Don't you bait me. Don't try to mislead the public"?
No, she absolutely, listen, that guy's mom is just a regular person. Like, she was totally caught off guard by this question, and she didn't manage any kind of particular answer to that. Like, I don't know how anybody could, but I thought it was interesting, Lori's response about that. Like, she was accusing him of baiting, but then she turned around and basically said the thing that he was trying to get her to say. Like, he was basically baiting her retrospectively, like trying to get her to point the finger at Kim Foxx and the judges for not charging and not setting high enough bail, whatever, for prior instances of people breaking into stores and taking things. But then she just turned around and said, "Don't bait me." Great for TV moment. And then she just said, like, we are looking for, you know, we want there to be like severe consequences for this, which is basically just, again, like pointing the finger at Kim Foxx and the judges to crack down on these people. Like, she ended up saying, like, basically the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so kind of frustrating too, because I don't really like the conversation about whether something is baiting or not. Like, it's not interesting to me that, like, Lori Lightfoot is trying to not point a finger at Kim Foxx and name her, you know, kind of name names in terms of who is not doing a good job on their end of the system. Like, the point is that they do that. They point the finger at each other all the time without naming names. And the bigger problem here, and I've written about this before when I wrote that big story about Cook County government, our criminal justice system is completely sort of bifurcated amongst different levels of government. We've got, you know, a police department that works for the city and answers to the city's mayor. We've got a judiciary that's independent. We've got a prosecutor's office that is part of the county government apparatus, and any kind of like response to crime in the city, if we're going to use this criminal justice system to respond to what we consider to be crime, quite aside from the question of like whether or not what we consider to be crime is valid and whether or not we need a government response to that quote unquote crime, but just like going off the basic premise that when there's crime happening, we have a criminal justice system that responds to it, that punishes people for it. The different agents who are responsible for that work are not actually connected to each other in any kind of, they're not answerable to one another. They're not financially interdependent. And so no, like, and they're run by elected politicians whose main concern is to just like win their next election. So I just it's very frustrating, these conversations and these kinds of like, you know, theatrical moments like that press conference and the baiting thing, whatever, because at the end of the day, like, it doesn't really get to the bottom of the issue here, which is that, okay, the cops can go on a spree of arresting people, but then the city of Chicago doesn't have to pay for the overburden that creates on the county criminal justice system. They don't have to pay for that, for the consequences of indiscriminate arrests, because it's not their budget that goes to running the courts. It's not their budget that goes to running the jail. You know, there could be the prosecutor could decide to charge everybody up to the hilt with everything possible, but it's not her office that's going to handle the actual processing and jailing of these people. It's Tom Dart's office. Like, all of this stuff is like siloed and disconnected. And so like tweaking one part of the system, for better or for worse, is sort of like always done in isolation, which, I mean, you know, that's not something based on how this country is structured, that's not like really something that can necessarily change, but it's just, I don't know, I guess it just goes to show how pointless all these conversations are, and all of this like kind of like finger pointing about whose fault is what by the politicians, by the elected members of the system or elected leaders of the system.
Yeah, there's never a shortage of scapegoats to blame for things that you may be doing wrong, is the point. I agree. All right, we'll close with your thoughts on the weather coverage. It's almost like a bonus. You're dedicating the day to watching local TV and its coverage of civil unrest, as you put it. And then in the middle of everything, a windstorm emerges, a tornado warning that had me. I just imagine local television coverage, which I didn't watch at all yesterday, their minds exploding, because it's like, wow, you know, civil unrest, cops beating up black people shattering windows. That's unbelievable. But in the middle of it all,
unbelievably successful day for local news. I'm sure on a business level, they did great yesterday.
So by the way, that image is in my mind of just that was a great riff you went on, just talking about these cops pounding away at this man. There's no explanation. The footage is just running in the background as they talk about it. I'm sorry. It's so bleak. It's out of like a science fiction novel. So any contrast that you notice, similarities between coverage of a pending weather disaster and coverage of civil unrest?
Just that the emotional intensity of it is the same. Like, it just, if you're not even paying attention, like if you just sort of like, it was seamless. The kind of intensity around the sense of chaos and danger and uncertainty, like it was just as intense about the looting as it was about the tornado. Like, you know, and then also don't forget the coronavirus. They've got coverage of that every day.
Yeah,
too.
I forgot. Yeah.
So it's just like it's just a never-ending sense of like crisis, of like extreme things happening. And I'm totally not a person who's like, oh, we need more positive news. Like, I think that, you know, news coverage tends to and should focus on issues, like problems, like actual, you know, people need to know about the weather or whatever. But the kind of like extremeness of the language and the way that the imagery flows across your screen, it's all like, it's just very overwhelming. I feel like the brain is just like I have the sensation of having gotten out of like a 6-hour action movie after watching the TV news for 6 hours. Like, I need like a nap. I want to close my eyes. I don't want to hear or see anything else. It's just like, it's very overwhelming to the sensations. And that kind of feeling is like really not conducive to like civic engagement, critical thinking. Like, it's just not, all it does is just like, it irritates you, it agitates you, it excites you. And then you wind up so overwhelmed with all of those like kind of brain responses to that stuff. I mean, I'm not a neuroscientist, so I'm just kind of talking out of my ass here about my own sensations, just what I felt, I experienced. But
no, I'm with you.
The end result is a very like numb feeling, and a feeling of being overwhelmed and kind of like I don't know, that my senses are like dulled because I've been overwhelmed with so many like danger signals, basically.
Well, it fosters a feeling of helplessness.
Yeah.
And so it's a very powerful tool for like building support for the police, in the terms of the civil unrest. But the weather thing is such a trip, man. It's like the position. I don't know if they did this yesterday. Weather coverage. So there's a tornado, let's say, or a hurricane, and they'll send the reporter out into the middle of the storm. The guy will be sitting there, or sometimes a woman, battered by the wind and the rain. And here I am, and I'm at Jones and Clark Street, and oh my God, it's just brutal. The wind is terrible. I can barely hear you. And then the anchorman in the studio, Billy Bob, can you give us a sense of what people are doing around you? And Billy Bob's like, I can't hear you, Frank. It's so loud. It's just unbelievable. I just saw a tree flying by me. I saw a police car under 6 feet of water. We're going to go back to you. It's like, okay, there's a weather cover. My mom would be watching it. Betty, she called me up. Did you see this news? No, I don't watch the weather, Ma. It's terrible.
Oh my God, Dennis, I really hope you captured that entire impression that Ben just did, and we really need to use that in future material.
Absolutely.
This was like,
that was great.
Really comedy genius. Incredible.
Thank you.
Impression. Everybody, if you've never seen those news, there you go.
That's just the weather news. That's not the civil unrest news. Be scared, very scared. Marauding black people from the South Side have come to the North Side. By the way, I have to say, I'm going to let the cat out of the bag and get all out of trouble doing this, Dr. D.
You've said that like 4 times today, by the way.
I know. I'm always, about me and my big mouth. But there's talk. I'm just going to put it that way. There's talk that Maya and Ben will bring back a virtual edition of First Tuesday. There's talk. Okay, it's just talk right now. It's just talk. But a couple of our listeners asked about it, Maya, when you were on vacation. Hey, where's that? Why don't you and Maya do a First Tuesday? And so nothing exact has been figured out. I'm taking next week off, a much-deserved vacation. Thank you, Maya. And my hunch is that after that, we may cut a deal for September. May, fingers crossed. Don't know for certain, but that's the talk. Isn't that how you do it? There's talk that we may bring back First Tuesday.
Yeah, I just hope that people hang on to their seats and stay tuned to this space for updates. Maybe we'll get Dave Savini on the story. There's definitely active talks going on, and I think I'm feeling pretty optimistic that First Tuesday is going to be coming back. And in a virtual format.
For what it's worth, your sound quality is awesome. Every time we have you, like, it's just incredible. So you're just using your phone?
Yeah, I've stopped using my headset, which is apparently the source of all my problems. So unless the Peter wants to buy me a really nice headset, I think I'm just going to go without it for a while.
It sounds great. Like, you're one of the best sounding guests we've had thus far since we've been doing Google Meet.
Is that anyone who has a mic on like earbuds or Bluetooth headset, if it's dangling on the wire, your sound quality is going to be awful because the mic is catching all of the surrounding sound. It's not targeted at your mouth. That's why you got to get one of those like telemarketer headsets that are really good quality, or just go without it.
All right, Maya Dukmasova, you better get back to writing that story.
Yeah, I need
It's
to
due. That story's due. All right, get to work. all right?
I got a deadline.
And guys, I found the audio, by the way. I got it.
For the people arrested.
Greg, let's be clear. I mean, and don't bait us, okay?
No, I was asked to ask this
do not
que-
bait us. Do not bait us. This is a serious situation. People are concerned about their safety. Officers are concerned about their safety. So don't bait us. What we're saying is, as a result of what happened last night, there have to be consequences. We've got teams of people that are aggressively out there identifying the people responsible, looking at the plates, and we're going to bring them to justice. But when we do, and we do make those arrests, our expectation is that this is going to be treated with the level of seriousness that it should be, period. Don't try to bait us, mischaracterize, pit one against the other. We're not playing that. We are in a serious situation here, and we need a serious response. That's what we're saying, period.
I'm not trying to bait you, Mayor. I'm just asking you a question that...
And are you sure that wasn't Mark Brown?
No.
It
It's
does.
from ABC7.
Okay,
Yeah.
it sounded a lot like Mark Brown.
Yeah, I don't think he was baiting her at all. I think it was a legitimate question, and it's tough being a reporter, inquiring reporter.
Speaking of which, I gotta go, guys.
All right. Get Maya to work. It's going to be a great story, and I'll probably be talking about it when I return for vacation. Take care, Maya. Thanks so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Maya deserves a raise for having watched all that coverage yesterday, but she really deserves a raise, Dee, from sitting through hours and hours of Mayor Ron podcast. Oh, that was tough. Anyway, great interview with Maya. Before we head out the door, you got an update from me, young man?
Absolutely, I do. Ben, I sent you an email. Did you get that email that I sent you? You know the email? Did you get that?
Hold on.
Email?
Let me look. I don't look at my emails. I got a text message from David Seaton.
Okay, well, what about that email?
Oh, here we go.
All right. So right now on Capitol Facts, the meanest Illinois political bulldog in the yard, Rich Miller, get him on the chain. He posted an extensive list of a group of progressives who have called for Speaker Madigan to resign. Yes, what would a...
Some of them are...
What's
Go
that?
ahead, some of them are Ben Joravsky show guests.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Madigan Gate continues on the Ben Joravsky show. What would a day be in August without Madigan Gate? So I have Capitol Facts pulled up right now. I'm going to go through a list. I mean, this list is huge. So I'm just going to run through some of these names. Ben, if I forget to mention someone, interrupt me and, weigh in. Madigan Gate, by the way, for those who aren't aware, Ben, refresh everybody what Madigan Gate is.
I'm looking through the list. Madigan Gate is the ongoing federal investigation into the alleged wrongdoing of House Speaker Michael Joseph Madigan, the most powerful Democrat in the State House. He is also the chairman of the Democratic Party, the Illinois Democratic Party. So people have two fronts to weigh in on Michael Joseph Madigan. If you're a state rep or a state senator, you can weigh in dealing with his influence on legislation. And if you're a Democratic Party official or an elected official, what have you, you could weigh in in relation to his role as chairman of the Democratic Party. Commonwealth Edison has pled guilty to having attempted to bribe Michael Joseph Madigan by putting his cronies on the payroll. They agreed to pay a $200 million fine. Michael Joseph Madigan said he was completely unaware of what they did. He had nothing to do with it, and it didn't influence him in any way, so he is guilty of nothing.
Alleged.
That is Madigan Gate.
Alleged.
Just say alleged. Alleged. Everything's alleged.
All right.
Okay?
Come on. All right. So it looks like members of the IF troop are moving on to the resign troop here.
Come on, let's give him a shout out. Easy. Eric Zorn came up with that one.
Shout out Eric Zorn.
God damn, Eric Zorn beat me to IF troop.
By the way, how about that quality with Maya, huh? Sounded pretty damn good, right, buddy? All right. Our first name that we recognize here, he's a mathematician, so he must have punched up the numbers and realized that his job may not be on the line so much. Former state senator and state representative Dan Biss.
All right, the key in that is former. It's not a.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, you're right. You're right. The key in that is former.
Would he have said this had he still been a state rep? Negatory.
And there went the best interview. By the way, I call him the real DB. All right. Moving on. Oh, okay. We just had an interview with this lady last week, and it's going to be available next week while we're gone. Murray Breel of the Heartland Mamas is on the list.
Murray's on that list?
Yeah.
I didn't see her.
She's on the list. Let's see here.
It's a long list.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're looking at the list, right? Okay.
I didn't see Murray's name. I love you, Murray. Oh, there she is. That's because it's her full name. Oh, I'm not Murray. I'm Muriel. I didn't know. I just call her Murray. Yeah. She's Plaintiff Township Democrats vice chair.
All right.
Yeah, she's a regular on the Ben Joravsky, Heartland Mamas.
Up next, it's another former, but we got to get him on the program. I sent you a text about it yesterday. Former AG, former Chicago 33rd Ward Committee person and Attorney General candidate Aaron Goldstein, the meanest three-point shooter in the 33rd Ward, I tell you. All right, let's see here. 49th Ward, well, we already knew this one. Alderwoman Maria Haddon is on the list. How about this one? 14th District State Central Committeeman and former guest on the Ben Joravsky Show, one PJ, Peter Janko, the guy who got us the interview with Madigan.
Yeah, by the way, you skipped somebody. You missed somebody. Mr. D, Dr. D.
Who'd I miss?
Pamela Gronenmeyer. She is Dr. Pamela from Alton area. She comes on. She's the Bernie Sanders.
Oh, you're right.
Dr. P, Dr. G. I love her. She's excellent. She's
probably because I forgot her name because you call her names like Dr. P, Dr. G. You don't call her by her real name.
That's how you do it, folks. That's how you do it. You flip the switch. Okay, blame the old guy.
That's how you do podcasting. All right.
That's podcasting.
How about former gubernatorial candidate Chris Kennedy? I got him on the list here.
Oh, there's a shocker. He was bashing Madigan when he was running for. I used to have a kind of a Chris Kennedy.
Yeah, I think you just switched that. Now it's your Flannery. I don't know. I had a little Flannery sound.
Kennedy's the one. Who said, of course, when he was running, that Mayor Rahm has he was planning decisions were intended to move black people out of the city of Chicago. It was the really on target thing that Chris Kennedy said. And of course, all the editorial boards ripped him. How dare you say that?
Of course, I think he should resign. That's my Kennedy impression. All right, moving on here. How about another former guest, a very smart man, so smart, in fact, he went on Jeopardy. Candidate for DeKalb County Board, former Illinois 16th congressional candidate, Neil Muhammad.
I love Neil Muhammad. We got to get him back. I almost cut a deal with him about 2 weeks ago, and something happened. But when we come back, we're going to have Neil Muhammad on. Really, truly one of the smartest people that's ever been on the Ben Joravsky Show.
Oh, way smarter than us.
Yeah,
all right,
that's for sure.
Other names include Rachel Ventura, Will County Board member, former Illinois congressional candidate. Let's see here.
She's been on the show.
Yeah.
All right, and then let's see, Sheila Simon, Paul Simon's daughter, former lieutenant governor. She's never been on the show, but it's Paul Simon's daughter. Andre Vasquez, your good friend, 40th Ward alderman, rapper, and for 10 trivia points, who brought Andre into our life? Andre's kind of a big shot now.
Of course I know. Another one of these great nicknames you have, Dr. Dog. Damian Perdue of the place that fired you, WCPT 820.
Yes, he had nothing to do with it. He's one of the great people that works at WCPT. I shouldn't say that. They'll probably fire him, but he's a great guy. I love him dearly.
Oh, they listen to, because people at CPT are just listening to the very end of every Ben Joravsky. They've stuck on this long, yeah. They're not listening, dude. All right. I think that's it. David Orr, former Cook County clerk, 49th Ward, Chicago alderman.
Wait a minute. Time out on the playing field. A good friend of the Benny Joravsky Show. Maggie Wonderly. Maggie is a Bernie Sanders delegate, knows more about the selection process for delegates than anyone in the world. She's been on the show. We should bring her back and talk after the convention, get her thoughts on that.
And Ben, what were your thoughts on Madigan? He should resign?
I said it before these guys. I'm really torn when I say this. I mean, I'm really torn because I truly appreciate I have much gratitude for the role Michael Madigan played in defying Bruce Rauner. And I have no doubt, I always feel compelled to say this, that Mayor Rahm and John Cullerton would have sold out the unions of the state of Illinois in a heartbeat. But I do believe he should step down. I believe it's time that the Democratic Party move in a different direction. But I understand, man. I got a lot of friends in labor that are sticking with him. I got a lot of lefty friends. They won't even talk about it, but they're sticking with him. So I guess I understand where they're coming from. They too feel gratitude and loyalty, but I don't know. Come on, guys. It's going to hurt the fair tax. Don't you have any standards? I mean, whatever.
I'm looking at the list here just to check on a certain name. Let me see. Let me double check before I say it here. Nope. No, Will Gazzardi.
And no Lori Lightfoot.
No Lori Lightfoot.
No Lori Lightfoot. By the way, Erica Bray Parker has been a guest on our show many years ago, back in the old days I think she came to the news show. She used to be a school teacher in DuPage County, and she had the debate team? Or the civics club, whatever. She brought those kids in, so she's pretty awesome. Anyway.
All right, and finally, before we roll out of here, Ben, I know you wanted to weigh in on the latest with Pritzker and Downstate and DB, Darren Bailey, right?
Oh, I'm going to talk at length about that today. I put aside most of the Downstate talk for today because there was so much emphasis.
Wait, are you giving us a tease for tomorrow's show?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give a big time tease. Going to talk about Donald Trump and his bizarre executive decision. These are the things that I didn't get into because my attention was diverted by the civil unrest in Chicago. But Donald Trump and his idiotic executive orders, which were so bizarre over the weekend, essentially proposing to, by cutting the payroll tax or temporarily deferring it, bankrupting Social Security and Medicare. The man has lost his freaking mind. Bill Clinton update. Despite my column, this is how little influence I have with Dems. D, as you recall, I wrote a column. Dems cut the cord with Billy C. And how did the Democratic Party react? They invited him to speak at the convention. The Dems don't want to learn. We just determined never to learn from our mistakes. Anyway, I really want to get into the voting rights lawsuit that the Republicans filed against Pritzker. They think they're slick and everybody can see right through them. So that's a tease for tomorrow.
What a teaser. My goodness. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. Follow us online at Benny J Show, BENNY, the letter J Show, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can send us an email, bennyjshow@gmail.com, and you can call us up 708-658-4788. That number again, 708-658-4788.
All right, I want to thank Maya. She did a great job. And, of course, I want to thank the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of joy of Alton, Illinois, without whom this show would be possible. And as everybody on this list, from Peter Jenko to Maria Haddon will tell you, back home in Alton, they call him Dr. D. Give yourself a raise, take it out of petty cash. See you tomorrow, everyone.
The enemy is you.
That's correct.